Good evening, visitors. Welcome to the Australian War Memorial's last post ceremony. My name is Troy Clayton, and joining us today from the Royal Australian Navy is Captain Nick Tate. We warmly welcome the members of the Australian Military Wives Choir who are joining us for this evening's ceremony. We welcome the veterans who have served, those that are still serving, and the families that love and support them. The live stream of this ceremony is made possible by the Return and Services League of Australia and the RSL and Services Club Association. We welcome members who are watching the broadcast of this ceremony across Australia. During this evening's ceremony, wreaths will be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection by visitors to the memorial. If you're able, please stand and join in singing the National Anthem. Thank you. You may be seated. The Australian War Memorial was the vision of Charles Bean, Australia's First World War official historian. Bean landed with the Australian troops on Gallipoli and stayed with them at the front through to the end of the war. The idea of this national memorial and museum came to him at Pozières, France, in the depths of the bloody fighting of 1916. Bean's idea was that this would be a place where families and friends could mourn their loved ones buried in faraway places. It would also be a place that could help all Australians understand what these men and women had endured and what they had done for us. Bean's vision, to which we remain true, is best expressed as inscribed at the entrance to the memorial's galleries. Here is their spirit, in the heart of the land they loved, and here we guard the record which they themselves made. Tonight, we'll read the story behind just one of those on the Roll of Honour, which lists the names of more than 103,000 men and women who have given their lives for us in war and on operations for more than a century. But first, we present a lament, Flowers of the Forest. Wreaths or floral tributes will now be laid at the base of the Pool of Reflection.
Today we remember and pay tribute to Private Edward John Mayell. Edward Mayell was born on the 2nd of May 1894 in Millicent, South Australia. Known as Jack, he was one of 7 children born to Edward Mayell Sr., a gardener, and his wife Annie. Jack received his education at the local public school, where he was a keen member of the cadets program. And after he finished school, he began working for a local machinery manufacturing company. As a young adult, Jack volunteered in the Citizens Forces and became well known as a talented singer and musician in his local community. When the First World War broke out in 1914, Jack was working as a motor mechanic. Jack Mayell enlisted in the Australian Imperial Force on the 9th of March 1916. He was assigned to the 18th Reinforcements of the 10th Battalion with the rank of private and started a short period of training in Australia. He embarked for active service from Melbourne on the 27th of June that year, sailing on the troop ship Barrambar. In late August, Private Mayell disembarked in Plymouth, England, where he continued training. In October, he began his journey to the Western Front and was transferred to the ranks of the 48th Battalion. He saw out the remainder of the year with training and routine duty in the trenches as a bitterly cold winter began to set in. In early 1917, German forces began their strategic withdrawal to the fortified Hindenburg Line. Allied units eagerly followed the enemy's retreat, believing that the war was finally, perhaps, drawing to a close. It was not long, however, until their withdrawal halted at the enemy's new front line, near the French village of Bullecourt. Here, the Allies planned to mount an attack to break through the German lines and capture the village. Mayell's unit attacked on the morning of the 11th of April 1917, under the cover of tanks rather than artillery. As they jumped over the parapet, the tanks quickly proved ineffective, and the attacking infantry were left exposed to murderous enemy fire. One of Mayell's comrades described the attack in a letter home. "I tell you, it was hell let loose that day. Our guns opened fire at 4 a.m. and the air seemed to be on fire with shells screeching over us. Of course, Fritz took a tumble that we were going to attack and opened fire in return, and it was awful. When we hopped out, the machine guns and rifles tore into us. Men were dropping all around, and when the officers saw the state of things, they ordered us to drop down, and what was left of us dropped into shell holes and kept low. My mate had a bullet right through his ribs, and another poor fellow who made an attempt to go back to the trenches was shot dead. Soon forced to retreat, Allied units suffered more than 3,000 casualties in one day. The battalion's commanding officer noted in the unit's war diary, "Had the tanks shown more pluck and initiative, I believe things would have been quite different. No words of mine can express the pride and admiration I feel for these brave men." Among the thousands of missing was Private Jack Mayell. Mayell, who was just weeks shy of his 23rd birthday, remained listed as missing in action for several months. It was not until December 1917 that he was determined to have been killed in action during the unit's attack on Bullecourt. His exact fate remains unknown. Mayell's family and friends paid tribute to him in the local newspaper. With a short notice, it read, "Ever remembered." Private Jack Mayell was just 22 years old. His name is listed on the Roll of Honour on my right amongst almost 62,000 Australians who died while serving in the First World War. His photograph is displayed today by the Pool of Reflection. This is but one of the many stories of service and sacrifice told here at the Australian War Memorial. We now remember Private Edward John Mayell, who gave his life for us, for our freedoms, and in the hope of a better world.
Please stand for the reading of the Ode and the sounding of the last post.
They shall grow not old As we that are left grow old, age shall not bury them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them.
We'll remember them.
Lest we forget.
Lest we forget. We leave you this evening with the words of the memorial's founder, Charles Bean. Many a man lying out there at Pozières or in the low scrub of Gallipoli, with his poor, tired senses barely working through the fever of his brain, has thought in his last moments, well, it's over. But in Australia, they will be proud of this. Ladies and gentlemen, girls and boys, that concludes the last post ceremony. On behalf of the director, staff and volunteers, thank you for visiting the Australian War Memorial today and for your continued support during the Memorial's development project. We wish you all a very pleasant evening. Thank you.